everyone, and welcome back to Tail Inferno. There's this small bike race happening at the moment. It's called something like Le Tour de France. Pretty niche. Don't feel bad if you haven't heard about it. Of course, I jest. However, with Le Tour rolling around our screens at the moment, it made me think of a book I read and reviewed on the previous Tail Inferno, The Rider by Tim Krabbé. Now, apologies if I have pronounced that name wrong, and apologies in advance if I continue to pronounce that name wrong throughout this whole video. So with that race rolling around at the moment, what better time than to do a throwback book review on this book? I read The Rider back in 2018 and reviewed it on the previous Tail Inferno on the 27th of November 2018. While I didn't give it a rating back then, I'd probably give it something like a 4 out of 5. So pretty solid. It's really fascinating looking back at my old review for this book and reflecting on it now. From 2018 to now, so much has happened in my life, and I have swayed along a bumpy yet enlightening journey. I mean, we also can't forget that there were a couple of years there between 2018 and now where the whole world looked very different. And yet there are many things from the review I did in 2018 that are still so current. It's actually quite startling and comforting to a point that while so much has changed, some things are so similar. Back in 2018, I had my finger on the pulse on a few sports I really enjoyed. Tennis and Aussie Rules Football, or AFL, were the primary two for me. And I also heard quite a bit about what was happening in the world of cycling, as my then boyfriend, now fiance, was an avid cyclist. It was through him that I was introduced to this 150-page book, which told me about the story of Tim Krabbé's experience during the 150-kilometre Tour de Mont Aiguille? Tour de Mont Aiguille. Very likely I have pronounced that wrong. For those of you who don't know what that is, a quick Google will tell you that it's a famous and challenging cycling route located in Cévennes National Park of southern France, aka a big climb. Now, for those of you who aren't aficionados in the cycling world, which I most certainly am not, by the way, cyclists can be categorized into certain types. Now, I'm not going to list them all, and there's every chance that the ones I do reference are going to be incorrect and I'll look like an idiot. And that's okay. But these types include general classification or GC riders, domestiques, sprinters, time trialists, and a whole lot more. The type of rider that we are interested in today is the climber. Now, I don't know about you, but when I watch any cycling, even snippets of the highlights of it on the news, and there's some like massive climb involved, all I can think is, well, none of them look like they're having a great time, as it's all gritted teeth and pained expressions as they push themselves to the absolute limit to get to the top. Back in 2018, I pondered about what it would be like to experience what they are experiencing, to feel how they are feeling, or to think how they are thinking. Back then, and even now, the storyteller in me was always curious to know more about people's experiences and story. When it comes to sport in particular, there's just so much intricacy in what a person has to learn and commit to, and the sacrifices they endure to get to the pinnacle of their sport. We now have these brilliant documentaries and docuseries that give us a lot of insight, like Drive to Survive, yes I am one of those girlies, and Tour de France Unchained. But before then, I experienced The Rider by Tim Krabbé. This story provides a fantastic insight into the mind of not only a rider, but a climber experiencing that teeth-gritting suffering. When I read it, I was surprised by it. I realized that really anything can go through a rider's mind to distract themselves from that suffering. From life experiences of riding in different places or meeting other riders, to just general passing thoughts, both philosophical and just plain simple. It makes the story really authentic and personal. It made me feel at the time connected to Krabbé in some weird kind of author to reader, but also passionate cyclist to passionate writer kind of way. This book put my passions into perspective. While my passions have nothing to do with cycling, it highlighted that no matter the activity, we all connect to each other based on that feeling of passion. This is enveloped in the story, which is shown in the constant suffering or the thought-provoking passages that continue to push you as well as the rider onward on this journey. And that's exactly what this book is. It's a journey. we experience the ride. If we're cycling savvy, which as I mentioned earlier, I most certainly am not, we might even be able to picture the exact parts of the road race that are being described. We start feeling the same feelings as Krabbé does, like the worry he feels as he cycles downhill. The story also has this neat way in capturing when the rider is trying to distract themselves when they are suffering and then shifting to when they need to concentrate on what they're doing. The reader is basically they're transported into memories when the suffering is really kicking in, and then back to the real world when something complicated is happening. Ultimately, to me, this is a great book. However, I can understand if people don't enjoy it. It does help if you were interested in the subject of cycling, obviously, or even sports in general. Nonetheless, there are parts in the story which are incredibly thought-provoking and can be connected back to pretty much anything in life. With an open mind, you can start to form the cycling stuff into your own passions. A particular passage on page 89 stood out to me that really captures this. Why are we riding on? If you ask an alpinist why he climbs a mountain, he'll reply, because it's there. As far as I know, no one has ever pointed out what nonsense that is. The alpinist's will isn't prompted by the mountain, it's there even without a mountain. The alpinist's will is not so petty that it needs something as random as the shape of the Earth's crust in order to exist. Even if the Earth were as flat as a billiard ball, there would still be alpinists. The true alpinists. The true alpinist would actually be ashamed to have his will moulded by things of an order as low as mountains. So only one question could rightly be asked of the true alpinist. Why do you never climb mountains? Back in 2018, I related this back to why I'm passionate about reading, writing, and storytelling. And now I'm still moved by that passage and how it comes back to that passion piece and how I see myself in it. Yes, I'm still passionate about reading, writing, and storytelling, obviously, but there's more now. I have passion about helping the community and providing meaning through the job that I have. I have passion in sharing the knowledge I have gained to help guide and support others. I have passion to help others make sense of the reality that we live in and transition them to the new normals when crisis and disaster hit, or when any change occurs, through the power and art of writing and storytelling. The question I asked myself in this reflection back in 2018 was, am I shaped by the books I read and the work I do, or am I shaped by my passion and drive in search of the next story? On looking back at this old review and this passage from this book, I think my question would be similar but expanded. Am I shaped by the books I read, the video games I play, and the work I do? Or am I shaped by my passion, drive, and intent in search of and sharing stories, in giving meaning and empowering others to feel and see it too? Now, with all of that reflection done, what did I like? I think you can probably get the gist from this throwback book review so far that there was quite a bit that I liked about this book back then, and I still do. I like how thought-provoking it is. I like seeing the switch between deep philosophical thinking and reliving memories to then suddenly being in the moment and feeling like I'm on the bike with Krabbé. And I really liked the end. I won't spoil it, but it's not what I expected. I mean, if you know your cycling history, then it probably doesn't come to much surprise. However, as I've said before, I'm not a cycling aficionado, so I had no idea what I was getting myself into. The ending, however, hits home about what we do with our passions and why we do what we do. And what didn't I like? Well, I'll be real with you, I can't really think of anything specific. I read and reviewed this back in 2018, and unlike other books that I have deep agonies over, looking at you 100 Years of Solitude, there isn't anything that comes to mind. However, with that being said, it wasn't until I looked back at my old review that I recalled the events of the book and how I felt about it. So I can say with confidence that it is one of those books that, yes, it is still with me, it's stuck with me, but not as powerfully as others. So the rating of this book is high, but it doesn't quite make that 5 out of 5 star rating. Now that draws the end of this throwback book review of The Rider by Tim Krabbé. I would definitely recommend this book. Yes, it may be difficult to read if you're not sport inclined, but still, give it a go. You may find yourself having some deep thinking moments about your passions and experiences like I did. Have you read The Rider by Tim Krabbé? Did it make you feel the same way? Let me know in the comments. Really enjoy this video? Look, that was a bad use of the pun, I admit, so I probably lost the like for saying that, but if you can see past that, giving the video a like is awesome and I truly appreciate it. And if you want to keep up to date with the latest stories being reviewed and living it up in the weird and wonderful world of storytelling, make sure you subscribe and we can ignite the story together. I hope you have a great rest of your day, night, and week, whenever and wherever I am finding you. See ya!